Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, the Versace Stunner. We're here with another exciting episode of VSW Podcast. Today we got a very special guest. I don't know, you might have seen it all over Twitter. He's been going viral. It's been going crazy. I wanted to hear about it, and I wanted to get to know the man behind the video too, because there's so much more than just one little clip. The one and only Project West.
Hey, how
Welcome.
you doing? Thank you for having me.
You know, I'll be honest, I caught a glimpse of you scrolling Twitter. I was like, what's this? And I watched the video probably about 10 times. And I was like, this is interesting. Let me go and look for something more. And I did. And then I said, I want to talk to you. This is something fruitful. But all it takes now in this age is just, 1 10-second clip to spark somebody's interest one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. And that was all due to Wrestle with Unicorns. Wrestling with Unicorns I've been following for a long time, and Martin's been a good buddy of ours. We met him last year at WrestleMania weekend. But before that, like, we had been following each other for like years. So getting to work with him at Level Up Expo under versus Pro Wrestling was pretty dope. So his clip got us some eyes for sure. Just wish that they were giving him a little bit more love than stealing his clips and trying to say it was theirs.
Yeah. But I mean, but it's good to be in that age. I mean, if you go back, to the time before cell phones and stuff, you would have to hear something about that word of mouth and then be like, yo, you got to go and see the next show. And hopefully he does it again. Like it was very different times in wrestling. But yeah, I mean, let's backtrack on like, obviously, like I said, there's so much levels. That's just one spot I seen on one show that you've worked out of a dozen. All I know is, I did a little research and, you're from Las Vegas area. That's awesome. I've actually never talked to a pro wrestler from out of that area.
Oh, right.
Boxers, yes. Wrestlers, no. When did you get into the industry?
So I got into the industry in 2010. I'm in a heavy metal band called Death in Motion. If you acronym that, it's DIM, DIM. Um, a buddy had reached out to me about doing a show with this company called Future Stars of Wrestling, or FSW, out here. And I had met Joe DeFalco and Michael Modest and the Godfather at the time at one of the shows, and they wanted to have our band play for those shows. Well, I had talked to Michael Modest a little bit because I had seen him from WCW and also like Beyond the Mat, and I was just showing him some appreciation. And he looked at me, he's like, "You ever thought about like wrestling?" I was like, "I thought about it all my life. It's just I'm not really of the age. I was only like 20, 23 or something like that. I don't like, I got responsibilities I got to kind of maintain. I'm not really like got the time for it." That same month, me and my brother had taken me to WrestleMania. Shout out to DJ Day One, and I told him about the conversation that I had with Michael Modest, and he was like, "What the fuck? Why? Sorry, can I cuss on here? I guess I don't. It doesn't
Yeah, you
matter,
can
right?"
do whatever. I'm
Uh,
Versace Stone. I'm smoking weed. We can have fun.
he's like, "What the hell? Why wouldn't you do that? Like, you've been wanting to do this since you were 2 years old." So he kind of gave me that push to get involved, and I was with Future Stars of Wrestling for about 9 years.
And I mean, I guess it is a dedication that, it's not so much I mean, it's a dedication, I mean, how far you want to go, but just to get in, I mean, it takes a lot to do the training, to do it right, to do the proper way, not half-ass shit. You got to go to a
Absolutely,
reputable trainer, reputable school, somewhere that can teach you the fundamentals without, so you can be safe. And that's what
absolutely.
it comes down to. Um, so, going that way, did you decide, now you're like, okay, this is for me, and you just put everything on the back burner and went head in?
Yeah, the band and wrestling were kind of my go-to thing. So I merged those things. So that crazy scary character that you saw under Beast the Butcher, that was developed with Death in Motion first. So I'm the lead singer of that band, and I got a crazy mask and crazy get up and stuff like that. So that actually started off my career in wrestling, was using the band to kind of get me a little momentum. for
You were,
wrestling.
yeah, because you were already doing the band, so you already had somewhat of an idea what a persona is and how to work crowds and understand that all the logistics of what goes into that. And you know, in entertainment industry, music, you know, all these things, movies, it all does kind of coincide with wrestling because wrestling tells a story the same way a movie tells a story. It's just through violence or through fighting rather than through the whole drama of driving here and there and everywhere. It's just bam, we solved all our issues through a fight. I know everybody tells you that fists don't solve issues, but in the world of pro wrestling, it does. And
Absolutely.
that's the beauty of it. It tells that story in that short time, and you have that time to tell it as best as you can.
And that's another reason why we did this, did certain things in the match that we had, because we're not looking to have a regular wrestling match. I wanted to have a horror movie. And I think that we played that off pretty fucking well. If you're looking at the comments that are going through for any of these videos that are popping off, there's a staple spot that you had seen, and then there's an arm break spot that a lot of people are starting to catch on to as well. These people are so invested in these clips, and they didn't even see the entire match. The entire match is
No,
a horror movie, and it's just going to get worse from now on.
no. For those folks that don't know what we're talking about, what was the show?
So we own a company called Versus Pro Wrestling in Las Vegas, and we do an expo. That's how we started. We do a anime and video game expo called Level Up Expo. 3-day event every year. And for this particular event on that Sunday, it was Beast the Butcher versus Aria Perkins, who's been Aria Blake in MLW and other places around the world. And she had called me out, so I had to rough her up a little bit, and I had strapped her to the ropes and stapled her in a sensitive area that we won't discuss over the podcast. She's fired up on me and started getting me some love, and then I broke her arm, so had to do that.
And I mean, yeah, and we'll go back to the owning of the company because I mean that's part of the story along the way. But I mean, I did see the clip of hitting her between the legs, and honestly, for wrestling, it all depends because I like to read comments. I don't really like to interact with people in the comments because I don't feel like it does anything. But I do like to read them because you get different levels of people. You got you got your hardcore, deathcore wrestling fans that follow like GCW and all these extreme wrestling pros. And to them, it's nothing. This is a great spot. They're loving it. They're like, kudos. You got the people that are just regular, normal WWE fans going, this has gone too far. This is insanity. This wrestling is not for, this is too much. Then you got the people that did this really cool. They're like, oh my God, I hope she can walk. I hope she's not damaged for life. I hope she's not scarred. He should be behind bars. And it goes like even deeper. And then you got the people that really believe in it. It's just like, I love seeing that level of like kayfabe because for the real people that are in the industry, they're like, well, obviously, they know how things work. Nobody really got hurt. Everything's consensual. It's not like, hey, I'm going to do what I'm going to do and you're just going to shut up. It's like, you guys talk. People have communication if people don't know. It's not just a real fight. But then, like I said, you got those fans that just have no clue about wrestling. They just seen the clip. And to them, it's like they don't know if it's UFC, wrestling, WWE. All they see is a guy flipping a girl, and they're like, "Oh my God!"
And I'm placating to all those audiences. Like, what's to say that I did talk to her about that? What's to say that we had a conversation and we discussed the situation? Maybe she liked it, maybe she didn't. But either way, the eyes got onto it, and the entertainment factor is there. 100 million people watch Terrifier, and they continue to watch Terrifier. And there's certain people like this movie doesn't need to belong in theaters, and this is too much for kids. And it's like, okay, don't bring your fucking kids, dude.
I made my mom watch Terrifier. I was like, "You want to see this funny movie about clowns?" And then she's like, she got to the part where he saw her in the girl, and she's like, "What the fuck am I watching?" I'm like, don't worry about that part. It's the only bad one." And like she would continue to watch. She's like, "This isn't a funny movie, is it?" I'm like, "No, mom, sorry. It's a horror, but it's still like a good show. Watch it." I love doing that. I love to get them to watch horror because I'm like, yeah, he loves horror. My mom, not so much. So I have to kind of sugarcoat shit. But yeah, people watch horror movies. Some people only watch them Halloween. Other people like me, they watch them all year round. Most people enjoy a good scary flick. They like to be scared. Why not bring that into the realm of what wrestling is? And again, there's a very thin line of movies, wrestling, it all interblends somehow, some way. Like you said, your band took this to that level. Your characters here and there. You've made your own universe.
Well, keep in mind that like let's eliminate the gore factor of everything. Like people watch the Avengers, and in the Avengers, Thanos dead ass killed his daughter. So like what I did with that lady with the staple and breaking her arm, like that's more intense than you just watching somebody kill their own kid. All right then, sure.
And the gore effect wasn't there. It wasn't a bloody spot. Where some, you will see, like pizza cuts across the face, staple guns to the forehead that really look, they're stuck in there, blood gushing down. There was a great match the other night. GCW, they put on a great show. Effie was out there fucking kicking ass and the last man standing. That scene is very good in the deathcore, hardcore wrestling scene. And is it for everybody? No, but for the fans that like it, I'm glad that it's there because it's enjoyable. I enjoy it at least, and I know other people that go out there enjoy it and watch that kind of stuff. But we live in a world that there's so much different types of wrestling that there is something that caters to everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So to backtrack a little bit, you were working there, like you said, out that way, and then at some point you decided to go on your own, run your own thing.
Yeah, I won't get into the drama aspect, but sometimes you kind of need to build your own house when you leave mom's house. So like just wasn't really feeling the vibe there anymore. Just not the environment that I wanted. So it wasn't an environment that a lot of people wanted. So building Versus was kind of a catalyst to a lot of other companies being built out in Vegas. A big shout out to Grap House and a couple others that are in town. But I want to make sure that no matter what locker room that I'm in is going to be comfortable and conducive to any kind of culture. And that wasn't what I was getting over at Future Stars. So being able to build my own brand and my own company was a very, very strong idea of just opening up the culture and making sure everybody was showcased properly.
And what year would you say was this?
2018 roughly. 2019 we kind of full blown went on our own, but yeah, 2018 is when Versus started.
So pre-pandemic around that area. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, no drama involved. I mean, sometimes that is the case. In 9 years is a long time, but things change in 9 years. People change in 9 years. Management changes in 9 years. A whole world can change in 9 years. And like you said a key thing. You want an environment, a locker room that not only you feel comfortable, but your peers feel comfortable in. And sometimes the only way to kind of make that possible is to run it yourself.
Exactly.
And work from within. It's a great industry, but it also has its dark sides. Like every other company. I mean, you can name any industry, any company in the world, any kind of sport, anything. There'll be some the stories of whatever. But wrestling gets sometimes spotlit a little bit more, I feel, or just maybe that's just because I follow it. But the industry itself, and you got what's happening on the national level, and I feel like it all kind of trickles down to the indie level. People start double questioning who's running what and who's this and who's that, and it makes it a little bit of a negative spin, which it's not really like that. One or two bad eggs don't really ruin the whole bunch. Not in this case, not in this industry. And you got people that do kind of go through, weeding through, and just be like, this isn't right. And those are the people we should be commending. The ones that are standing up to it and not just letting it go. Because without that, there's no change. There will be no progression in wrestling.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying when you mean that like it's more hardcore when it comes to wrestling, but when you think about it, it's an entertainment industry as a whole. When it comes to sports, when it comes to movies, and when it comes to any kind of entertainment, you're going to have a lot more bad apples in those bunches. And if you lump all those things up together, there's way more bad apples than we need, and we need to get rid of that shit. We're not going to get rid of everybody. I 100% understand that. But I got to do my part, and my part is to make sure that my friends and my family are taken care of the right way, whether it be outside of wrestling or inside. So that's what the plan is.
And like I said, sometimes it's working, and working from within and being able to do that. I know that not everybody can, and it's not the easiest thing to do. Starting promotions, running, and you do trainings as well and train your students. Do you have like students and stuff?
We did. We had a facility for about 3 years. The versus facility was no longer a thing for multiple reasons, but a lot of it does have to do with my scheduling. I just don't have the time and roughly the patience to deal with it anymore. There's just good things and bad things about owning a school, and some of the bad things kind of turned me off to just working with certain people. I don't like being that guy to tell somebody that like I can't fuck with you anymore because your attitude shit. I don't want to deal with that anymore. I want to make sure that my responsibility is only going to reflect on me and not as a full company or as a training facility. If I can't micromanage everything and I don't have any help managing those things, it becomes very taxing. And it got to the point that I was dealing with my mental health at the same time. As much as I love the people that I was working with and I loving the people that I was training, I had to start focusing on me and my career and overall versus as a brand. And I think taking the time off from training was helping. I'm possibly starting to look into going back that route because I've been kind of picked on a little bit about not doing it anymore. But we'll see how it comes out within the next year. But right now, like I'm focused on doing shows, whether it be our shows or others.
And when you mean others, you said you've done Vegas. Have you been outside of Vegas and traveled around, or you just kind of
Oh
stay
yeah.
kind of in that area?
No, no. So we just got back this morning from Party Hard Wrestling in Arizona. We're going back to Arizona next week for IZW. We also work with Wrestle Drag in Arizona. California, we have a few companies that we work with, Full Queer. Um, there's a lot of companies in California actually. Valor Pro, Northwest Pro over in Seattle, I was working with and champion there for a little bit. Yeah, we've been bouncing around a little bit, and I think right now the key plan is to keep those relationships working and develop a stronger territory in the Southwest, and then hopefully branch up to the Pacific Northwest and try to help out some friends up there.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, honestly, even some shows up here in the Northeast wouldn't be bad. We have a really rich wrestling community out here. If you don't, I mean, you probably do know a lot of people get taken major scenes. They come your way, they come our way, back and forth, Japan here and there. We always have a good crowd. I love to see people from coast to coast come out here. Some of our shows, are big enough where they do actually, will fly talent from across the country. We've got Beyond out here, Limitless, and a
Oh
few
yeah,
other big names that will, that are good, high up on my end, they're right under AEW as far as, and the only thing that's different between them and AEW is the millions of dollars that they own. You know what I'm saying? Like the indie
yeah,
scene is thriving. I tell everybody the indie scene, for the most part, is nothing, less than what you see on TV, except for the production end, because the wrestling sometimes is even better. People aren't as worried about how it's going to be. They're just worried about how you're going to feel watching them. And that's a much better way to look at it.
agreed.
It's not always about getting that perfect spot. It's like, how is this fan going to react to what I do? How's my story going to impact them tonight? And seeing the wrestlers do that, it makes you want to go back. It makes you want to be part of it. Where in WWE, it's like I'm so far away from the action, I don't feel at home anyways. I feel distant as it is. Never mind to be invested. I have that. I know other people get highly invested in TV wrestling. I just can't. I don't get close enough. I don't have the money to get close enough to the ring, and I don't get to talk to wrestlers like that. Whereas the indie scene, you go to enough shows, there's people selling merch. You say hello, you say hi, you get to know people. They see you, they start to recognize you. Welcome back to the show. How are you talking? They talk to you in social. You get that closeness in the indie scene where you don't have that on the major league wrestling. It's just not there. And I get that. They have their levels and tiers, and you want to get an autograph, it's $500 and this and that. But to me, it's like all my childhood stars, maybe but five, aren't even around anymore, and like everybody else that I've started to like is just like, cool. I've seen you on the indies.
Hmm.
I started watching them when they were there. It's it's weird. The way wrestling was. If I was a kid again, I'd be all over these, meeting greets. I would have wanted to meet people like Macho Man, Ultimate Warrior, Randy, all these guys. Today it was like hard. I mean, the only person that I regret not meeting was Bray Wyatt. There was the one guy that I wanted to get over to WrestleCon for, and I just never made it to.
Good.
And that was just because he got me back into kind of mainstream wrestling. And again, it's that cross between the horror and wrestling. For me, that really makes me pop when I see any kind of horror and wrestling combined. There's a movie out there called Kill City Cup. A wrestler named Luke Robert produced it. It has like Brian Cage in it. What's her name there? Russian Cross. Natalia's in there. Matt Sydal. You got a few names in there.
Yeah.
About an hour running. They mixed, Mortal Kombat times horror times pro wrestling, all done in an hour, clean as a whistle, and it just makes me pop. It's like that's what I want to see.
Right. I've actually seen a lot of clips from Kill City. I wanted to be a part of that. If they become a sequel, but yeah.
I'll call Luke once I'm done and tell him to reach out to you. He's a great dude up here in New England, and honestly, I think they are working on some stuff. But I was just, it just popped in when I saw your character and you were talking about. I'm like, that character would fit great. They have, killers on there. They have these dark characters that are just over the top, and you know what? They're always looking for freaking music.
Oh yeah, that'll work. We got them.
But yeah, that's the cool thing about wrestling. It's so subjective that it can go in these different directions. It just doesn't have to be one way now.
True.
Now, I've seen the stable clip. Are you mostly known for wrestling, death matches and hardcore matches?
Not at all. There's with me having two different characters. When it comes to the B stuff, there's some gore factor to certain things, even like in just regular matches that I have, breaking limbs and snapping noses and stuff like that. Those are pretty typical when it comes to that. Project West is more of a comedian, more of a talk shitter. I would say more comedic wrestling, but even when it comes to like throwing down, there's just some abrasiveness to me when it comes to either character. But yeah, no real deathmatch stuff. I'm not against it. It's just not really something I've branched into. It's just there's a lot of cool shit that I can do without having to have a deathmatch.
No, I said it because, like I said, the first clip I literally seen was a staple clip. I was like, oh wow. But I want to go back and now see some, like I said, like some Project West matches and kind of see the different, realm of it. Because, that's the beauty of also, when you got guys and girls that play two different characters, if they do it really well, you don't even know. It's like two different personas,
Right.
And, there might be maybe a similarity, but sometimes there isn't even that. I know masked guys that work on the mask. You would never be like, what? Shaking your head, no way. And it's like, yeah, and you wouldn't even think they could move like that. But working that way though. So would you say that what would your style be? Like more technical? Like you said you like to break like limbs and stuff. Would you be more like a hard hitting technical wrestler, kind of like grappling?
More like a dirty brawler. Even with the breaking limbs, it's all really quick, just snapping fingers or snapping arms, stuff like that. But mostly brawling or powerhouse stuff, not necessarily more technical. But I got some technical on my belt. It's just not like it's not always needed. You gotta if you have 4 technical matches on a card, like you have to get some variety. And I think I'm part of that variety. I love being that different match.
And you kind of got the size too. It's like, why waste it on the technicality? Because I feel like, not for nothing, but like wrestling, if you go to a show now, it's not all big men anymore. It used to be all big dudes just fighting each other. Now you got a whole different level. And it's like, where do you fit these guys? How do you make it look logistical?
Right, exactly.
And sometimes, you'll have these bigger guys and they'll do these like unbelievable technical matches, but it's like, okay, but what about the smaller dude? He can't go out there powerhouse and shit. He's gonna have to do a technical match, and the next guy too.
Yeah.
And it's like you just said, all of a sudden there's 4 or 5 of the same match on the card. It's like, okay.
Just like that combat, everybody's got different styles, and styles make matches, man. So like, if you have a technical guy go against me, I'll do the technical shit all day, and then I'll just break them up. Like, I don't need to be on the mat. I don't need to be a high flyer. I can just throw down just like everybody else and have fun.
Now, and you said you want, you were talking like you want to be a wrestler since you were a kid, brother kind of push you. Who was on the scene at the time that you were like kind of idolizing?
I mean, when I was little, we won't even worry about that because things change in years if you've known.
Listen, everybody
Uh,
was a Hogan fan in the '80s and early '90s. I'll put it that way. Okay, we
yeah,
all were.
yeah,
I
yeah.
say it. We all have. I still have my '88 Hogan Mania bandana sealed.
That's right.
It's
That's
just
right.
who was pushed to us, though. It's who was here.
A lot of my influence, even now, Taz, Arn Anderson, Undertaker. But yeah, like everybody was a Hulkamania fan back in the day. I was their day one when No Holds Bar came out. Um, I actually have a video of me doing an autograph signing with Zeus, like probably like 2 months before he passed. Like it's ingrained in me that like that Hulkamania era was there. Ultimate Warrior, like used to dress up at the Ultimate Warrior for like different like contests and stuff, and won tickets to wrestling when doing that. I used to look, man, I love Demolition. That was probably what got me into wrestling. The first thing was Demolition, and getting the opportunity to meet them was awesome.
Yeah, Demolition, man. That's what it was about. That's right up my alley era. Like when I started to tune in and really pay attention with, that the kind of they call rock and roll era. But you had those larger than life characters on the scene. You had people coming out like Demolition. You had people coming out like the Powers of Pain and these guys that they were unmistakably, undeniably only could do one thing in the world, and that was the fight. That was the wrestle. They didn't have it. You could tell by them. There was no way they could work a side job. Like I was dumbfounded when I found out George the Animal Steel was a teacher on the side. I was like, "What the fuck? You gotta be kidding me!" This dude used to rip the turnbuckle apart in front of me. Um, but we had those larger than life characters, and it kind of drove. We want to be like them. And speaking of like No Holds Barred, that movie got me into it too. I kind of saw that. I was like, wow, and Zeus, he was amazing. I popped so hard when I watched Friday. Everybody was like, check this out. Like Zeus is in this movie. I didn't even
Man,
know his real name. I just knew Zeus. I'm like, Zeus is Debo. I'm like,
Fifth
someone's
Element.
gonna get some
You ever watch
hurt.
Fifth Element? Of course, man. It was the shit, man.
Someone's getting fucking knocked the fuck out today. but yeah, and that's what kind of just drove me into loving wrestling. And there's been times where I haven't been driven into wrestling that I've been kind of like, eh. And I'll just go back to those times because those are the times that I did enjoy it. And that's the beauty of, I think, wrestling. You can enjoy kind of what you want to enjoy out of it. You don't have to enjoy what everybody else enjoys. You can take the aspects you like out of it and just that's what you're a fandom of. I nowadays I primarily like the indie scene. I find that's where all the excitement is. I find out those are where the people that you're seeing them in these small halls today. Tomorrow they're going to be on your TV. Tomorrow they will be those WWE stars. And there's proof of it already, in the people that I've seen. And that's, I think, is the most interesting part of it is just watching that progression now, being able to see that progression. Because it's not, 20, 30 years like it used to be. Now it's like, a year and a half, 2 years of people are working their shit and selling their shit and getting on social media. People are seeing these clips and people are hitting them up and they're going to these shows. All of a sudden they're on another show and they're on TV within a year and a half.
Yep. True story.
So I think we're in a great time for indie wrestling. What would you say there would be like one match you had where it was like, just all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, yo, like I've done it. I've made it. I've made my dream. I'm here.
I don't really think so. Like, I'm not saying any of it to be cocky or saying anything to like act like I'm the greatest shit in the world. For the past like 2 or 3 years, with my mind state changing significantly, I'm out there just having fun, and every match that I've been having has just been fun. I think I've only had one match within the last 2 or 3 years where I felt like it just wasn't the best. But even that match seemed like it was super fun. If you break it down, it was significantly hot and like we were blowing up after minute two. Like it was just rough. Arizona heat sucks a little bit sometimes, but I think every match that I've had within the last 2 or 3 years have been really really comfortable, really really fun. Um, had that like that after the match, hey, that was fucking fun type shit. Not I don't think I've had like a match that was just like super negative that I can really beat up, but um yeah, I can't pinpoint just one where it's like, okay, that shit was it. I can say that the match with Arya did a lot more numbers than I expected because some of those spots I've done before, some of those things that we've worked with other people doing, but that one got a lot of love. And I'm very, very proud of that match. I'm proud of my match with Gypsy Mac too, because they both trusted me going into it to have a fun match, even in a hardcore setting. And that was, I know one of them, it was their first time actually having a hardcore match in general. And then Arya, that was her first match in 2 years. So for them to look at me and be like, okay, I can work with him and come out where I'm not dying at the end of it, or I'm not going to feel embarrassed or judge it significantly. That's what means the most to me when I see that, and I'm like, okay, good. That's where I feel like I did a good job.
Yeah, and honestly, those matches, and I can't wait to see the full match because I've yet to see it, but um, and it's not even just because there's so much wrestling that takes place, and I try to like watch a little bit of everything. At least I know what's going on and stay week to week. And just when I start to see something new, it's like, okay, now where do I start? Where do I start beginning to watch this? Do I start at the beginning of the promotion? Do I start at the like last month? I always get like fucking in my head about it. But there's one thing I did, notice right off the bat though about that match. It was an intergender match, and I find that me personally, I love intergender matches. I think if it's done right, it's the best match in the world. If it's done wrong, it's done wrong and it's fucked. But for the most part, who I've seen work, you know, intergender matches, they've done a tremendous job on both ends. Is that something that you normally do? Work the intergender scene?
It's more recent. Like when I think about it, like I've had a lot of intergender matches and didn't really chalk them up as the intergender matches. I'm a Mortal Kombat fan, and when we developed Versus, I was like, this is just going to be live action Mortal Kombat. There are no weight classes, there are no
Yeah.
gender classes, none of that shit. We want to make sure that people are just looked at as people, and if you can fight, you can fight. So a lot of that had to be was developed from Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground didn't give a fuck how things worked out. You guys had a match, you guys were good or you're bad, or you guys fought until somebody figured it out. But it wasn't a like, oh well, he shouldn't be fighting a woman or she shouldn't be fighting a man. It's like, dude, like I get it. I can understand that perspective at a certain level. This is entertainment. If you're not taking it for entertainment purposes and you're not understanding what this is, don't fucking watch it. But
Yeah, no, and I and I
standing
and I
in that
fucking agree
yeah,
with you
respect it,
100%.
dude.
Because I'm always fighting with people to because I mean I run the YouTube obviously and I post a lot of shorts. I love shorts. I love clips. I love getting clips. I've had some similar clips to what was posted that went viral with you. Some of my clips have gone in the 10 million range. It happens. Sometimes it just it's the weird algorithm of what hits. Sometimes these things take off, and you get the comments start flooding in. And sometimes you're interactive, and you like I said, you get these people, but you got to understand the entertainment factor. I can't stand the ones that be like, well, this isn't realistic. Well, let me tell you something. First of all, it's very realistic because there's girls and there's guys out there, right, in the gym, let's say. Sometimes the girl in the gym be A, stronger than this dude, B, bigger than this dude, and she going 5 times a week instead of twice a week.
Yep.
Already right off the bat, she could probably beat the dude. And that's in a street fight. Like, that's just real logistics. It doesn't matter about strength either. Strength is great. You can hit harder. Cool. You have to connect the fucking shot. If she's faster than you, you ain't connecting shit. And your power don't mean nothing.
There's a wrestler that we've been working with, and more in the MMA factor now, but Desi Dorada, she goes by Jesselyn as her first name, but I couldn't hang with Jessie. Like her hands are fucking ridiculous. And even though I might have some weight on her, she could toss me around like with no problems. So like to sit there and say that women can't hang with men, I think
Yeah, I
it's a
find it.
cross the board situation of where like if the physics is there and you can make it make sense, then anything can happen. 100%.
I mean, okay, obviously she ain't gonna go out there, a 5'2" chick ain't gonna go out there and body slam Andre the Giant. That's not logistical. But I've seen people like Marsha Slambis go and destroy dudes, and it's believable enough where she's destroying a dude. that I wouldn't want to fuck with her. There's people like you mentioned. There's people that are, in WWE that I wouldn't fuck with. They're stronger than me. They work out more than me. A guy versus girl don't really matter. The other thing that really gets to me is the people, like I said, that don't kind of break it down. That kind of what you said, the entertainment factor. You'll get these stupid ass comments. Well, that's the fucking domestic abuse. Oh, a guy should never hit a fucking girl. I'm like, dude, they're all under the same promotion. In the same sentence, you're telling me that you want her to, be world champion, but to do that, she's got to beat the world champion who's a dude. So either you want the equality or you don't. You can't have both as a fan. Now it's entertainment. Nobody's going home beating a woman. And I think that's why I think the mainstream wrestling has kind of just made that image. We don't get into gender matches. If we did, it would be big. Everybody would be aboard. But since we don't, everyone's like, it's a touchy subject there. Let's not fucking touch it here. And it's like, dude, when it's done right, it's beautiful art.
Well, if you break it down into what they're using as arguments, my dad shouldn't fight my uncle. It shouldn't happen. My dad shouldn't fight my mom. It shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have domestic violence in general. So if you're talking about a domestic violence situation, that shouldn't happen. When it comes to sports entertainment or even sports in general, make it make sense. Have fun, be entertained, just like any fucking horror movie, because Michael Myers is always going to go after whoever the fuck he's going after, female or male. And you got to make it make sense. But domestic violence shouldn't happen in general, male or female, male to male, male to female in general. That's not something that we're discussing here. We're discussing
No,
sports entertainment.
it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. You don't.
Yeah,
You make people don't make that distinction in the movie. They watch the
exactly.
movie. It is what it is. But when it comes to pro wrestling, they start with that distinction. Like,
Yeah,
but wait a
exactly.
minute, it shouldn't be like that. And it's like,
You're fucking
why?
right.
Imagine Michael Myers only killing guys.
It's not as
And
exciting.
if we're going by logic, well, how the fuck did Laurie Strode even survive? She couldn't even be able to run. I mean, by that logic, she survived every movie, but yet a woman can't outbeat a man in wrestling. It's like, that's where I like kind of lose it now. It's like we're at that level where everybody's on the same game. Like you said, Mortal Kombat, fucking put them against each other. Let's see the dream matches. If it's done right. Obviously, you can't be a shitbag in real life. And, we've seen shitbags in real life work into gender matches, and off and out they went. And that's fine. That's what needs to happen. But not everybody is. And there's great people that can work these matches.
Right.
But, I'm always a big fan of it, like I said. And I saw some of those same comments in there. It's like, I don't comment on it because I got past the point of defending because you're not going to win the arguments. But it's like, that's this kind of stuff. It's like,
yeah, I've gone past the fact of arguing with people. I don't want to argue with people, but I definitely want to troll people just because I get bored. So if I see a comment that I can fuck around with and I know they're not really that intelligent, I'm definitely going to pick on them a little bit. I'm a dickhead.
Definitely. But I mean, I used to be in this spot where, like, I want to correct everybody. Well, this is what it's like. And no, you're right. It's like, it's not even worth the time because they don't even understand the real answer anyways. But like I said, some of them are just so dumb or cocky that it's like, why not?
Yeah.
And I'm sure for a while your feed was blowing up because like it got up there, it got into way past the millions.
So it just one site alone had 13 million views. So I don't know what the combination of everything are, especially with both videos included, but the arm break spot got to at least 2 million on one site, and then the stable spot got to 13 million in 2 days. So I don't know what these numbers are looking like right now, but I'm having people just messaging me. It was like, yo, I know this was you. I was like, yeah, you're right. That was me.
Yeah, because you don't even see the whole thing, and it's just like I had to read through the comments to find out what was going on, and that's fine. But it just goes to show you, like I said, how quick society is. These clips, you see it, and all of a sudden, that's how people become, internet celebrity stars, whatever. They might get picked up. Somebody might say, "Hey, we love that spot. We want you to do that on AEW. Come on down."
Well, funny thing was, like, I'm still running the expo, and I didn't know that Martin had posted it. I was waiting for him to post everything at the end of the weekend, but he started posting it throughout the convention. So I go to the back. They're like, "Hey man, your video's doing really well." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, the staple gun. I was spot out. I was like, oh, that popped off already? I was like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, it's getting really good numbers. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked at them. I was like, 70,000? This is an hour, dog. What the fuck are you talking about? 70,000 views in an hour.
Yeah, that's like, oh, wait a minute. What the fuck?
Yeah, yeah, like that threw me back like significantly. Not in a bad way, of course. But I was like, how did it grow legs that fast? I haven't even finished putting the fucking ring apart yet. Like we haven't gotten that far. Like
The
this is
internet's
insane.
wildfire, though. The internet's wildfire. Um, but it's a good thing. I mean, but there is that like mental health aspect that I kind of want to ask you. If you admit that, it's a great time to talk about. How do you deal with the negativity on the post? How do you like just kind of shut that off, or do you ever get like, do you let it get under your skin?
No, like it's entertainment. People don't like a million like all the Avengers movies, and they're knocking like I'm a big Scarlett Johansson fan, by the way. Like that's my drill worthy like character right there. If somebody's knocking Scarlett Johansson, I'll be more upset that they're knocking Scarlett Johansson than they're knocking me. I was like, yeah, I'm here for that. Like I told you, dude, I'm a dickhead, dude. If I see in these negative comments, I'm gonna be laughing at most of them. It's when they start getting a little sour and like start trying to shoot at like personal stuff. It's like, okay, maybe we can kind of tone it down a little bit. But nothing that I've seen has affected me. It's all part of this. And if you let that stuff affect you, if you let that start beating you up and you start taking it personal, then you really shouldn't be in a business like this where it's like entertainment factor because not everybody's gonna like you. 90% of people are going to hate you. And then those few that are actually on your side, they're going to give you a little bit of love, but then they're going to go to the next thing that they love. So you can't invest in that. You can't use that as reassurance. My family's my reinsurance. My friends are my reassurance. That's all I need.
They're the only ones that aren't jealous of you.
Exactly,
And
right?
that's what it boils down to. Even like the best of people that are on your side at one point, if you do better, they're like, wait a minute, why he doing better? It's like everybody can do good, everybody can do great.
There's a lot of good people that sent me a lot of love for this, and then there was a lot of silent motherfuckers, and I know those silent motherfuckers. I get it. I'm gonna let them stay silent.
But like I said, let them. I mean, I saw a great post by I think Effie posted something about he's a top star in the industry. People look up to him as well. And he's a voice of a whole generation of wrestlers right now, I think. And for him to say something positive, it's like, dude's good in my book.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and that's what it takes sometimes. Just being around the right people in the industry or people that are looked good upon.
I love Effie a lot. I met him through Party Hard Wrestling, and then we've had the opportunity to work together a few times. Whether I'm booking him on a show or even wrestling him, and as much funny shit as he says about talking shit about people in wrestling or on his podcast, he's got a lot of knowledge that he is more than willing to hand down to the younger generation. And even though I feel like with Effie's presence and his star power, with him not even being on television, I think that made me feel a lot better about the wrestling scene as a whole because you don't need to be in those top companies to be a top person in the business. And you don't have to be a AEW or WWE to do good for the business. Like he has done so much great for the business and for the people that he stands up for. So yeah, I got a lot of love for Effie, even though like I wish I would see him more and hang out with him more. He's just a good dude overall, and I appreciate him.
Yeah, definitely. I got the pleasure of meeting him once in where at the showboat, and then I got to see him at a local promotion. He was working a show. It was kind of cool. Got to chill with him a little bit. Very friendly dude. Very down to earth, in my opinion. Some wrestlers, you talk to them, they're like, they don't even want to look at you. And it's like this dude was like, "Let me hug you. Let me say hello. Thank you for coming to the show. Enjoyed it. Did you like it?" And it's like, that's why I come to these shows because I enjoy it. I like it. And to see them,
Absolutely.
interact in that way. He didn't have to stay there. It was at the end of the show. It was 12:30 at night. There was no reason for him to hang around. He wasn't even trying to sell anything. He was just there to take pictures and say hi to fans that wanted to say hi. Nothing
That's
more.
awesome.
I can't appreciate that enough.
Right.
You know, and now you said I did I read somewhere that you've also been in some movies?
Yeah, I was actually part of a premiere this past Monday. Me and my wife were in a movie called The After Dark. It has some other wrestlers in it, like Gangrel and Sin Bodhi and Paul London. But they also have Lars Ulrich from Rancid in it. He's basically doing the narration for everything in the movie. It's a fun like vampire metal vampires versus gothic vampire type movie. I'm also in a movie called Teddy Told Me To with Sin Bodhi as well. This is all developed by Tom Devlin. Tom Devlin has a monster museum out here in it's actually in Boulder City, but like we call it Las Vegas. But yeah, man, like Tom Devlin is probably like the coolest dude to work with. He always puts me in really cool spots. He's made my mask for me. So I have another mask that wasn't in that clip that I use, and I'm gonna start doctoring up. And he's got another match waiting for me too. But yeah, he's just an amazing person to work with, and I think I got a couple more in the docket going into next year too.
That's awesome. I mean, like I said, and it all coincides. If you can do one, like I always tell people, wrestlers are the perfect actors because you don't need to hire the stuntman, man. They'll throw the punches, they'll do the jumps, they'll do the flips. They can do anything that those guys, other people that you're paying big bucks can do. They can do it themselves. You don't have to switch them out. And the fight scenes always look on point. I
Exactly.
videotaped some wrestling fight scenes, and man, it's like a fight scene. You don't have to have it go slow motion and on. They know how to do it. Um, but it's great seeing that kind of crossover because like wrestlers are good actors, and if you look at WWE wrestlers, they all have an IWMD DBH. They're all considered actors on television. So to see other guys and girls use their creativity to do this, it's great. How was it working with Gangrel? He's quite the legend. Speaking of legends.
Gangrel is kind of like a person that helped develop me. I worked for Paragon Pro Wrestling and West Coast Wrestling Connection from 15 to 17. And if I wasn't tagging with Gangrel, I was going against him. So learning from him, from not only just like the wrestling scene, but also doing these movies and being able to just kick it with him. G's always been awesome. He's always willing to help and always making like he'll watch matches. He'll watch every match that's on that card. And if he sees something that's a little funky, you're like, "Hey man, you gotta fix this." And it's like, "Hey man, I thank you, I appreciate it." He's broken down some things really strong to me that where, um, if you notice, like when it comes to the mentality, somebody can tell you something a million times and you just don't get it, and then somebody else will tell you the exact same thing in a different way and you get it right away. He's one of those guys where it just like clicked with me, and it's like, okay, I understand, thank you, I appreciate it. But he's awesome.
He explains it very well and such, and I've heard great things about him. After he left WWE, about helping rosters, helping locker room, being that presence in the locker room when he's brought on to a show.
Yeah.
In WWE was always entertaining. That was probably my favorite little trio when the Brood popped out and the Blood and the Vampiric music. That was a big goth back in the day. You would never know now, but I was into that whole scene, and when that kind of crossed into wrestling and you got that, it was just perfect timing. Because there wasn't a lot of that in wrestling at the time. You had Undertaker, and still I'll fight people to this day. My favorite song for the Undertaker will be his Ministry of Darkness song, his little
Yeah.
little rhythm beat.
Mm.
And I love that whole little dark era of wrestling when everybody was kind of into it. And then you had Sting and Raven and all them on the other side. Um, but it brings it back to today. What I watch in wrestling today, and I watch a lot of different stuff. But what I enjoy is when they do bring these horror characters and you see them come to life, and it's not even as bad as it was back then. Back in the day, you kind of roll your eyes at a zombie wrestling or whatever it might be. But today, between the makeup, between the wrestlers want, especially on the indie scene, because they're not forced to do these characters, like they're choosing, they want it, they put a lot of time and investment into their character, whether it's through the gear, the work, whatever. So when they come out, they're that character. You're blown away because it's Hollywood effect quality.
Did you get a chance to see TNA this week?
Us, but I
So
saw the that
Jonathan Gresham,
that's insane. I mean,
it's
what I
awesome.
mean? Like that's That's what I'm talking about. You didn't have that back in the day. You know, gimmicks were there, but they were half-assed, made up. So it
Yeah,
wasn't believable. It didn't bring that horror aspect into it. But, you know, that's why, again, I love Bray Wyatt, because he brought that into wrestling. He brought that back, and he got people into that kind of mindset that we can come with these crazy characters, but we can also make it with very high quality.
and I understand. So like the Fiend gimmick, the way that they developed the Fiend gimmick made me pop pretty strong. I was really a big fan of how he initiated Bray Wyatt to start, because it was so realistic and very backwoods, to where like you don't want to go down that road type thing. And it was so in your face to where like this is believable.
I feel like Bray inspired a whole, you know, reboot of using, you know, horror into wrestling. Not that
Right.
people weren't doing it before, it just wasn't getting the eyes. People were like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that's just whatever. That's just what, you know, what it is.
It wasn't
Um,
corny. It came off, all the other things came off really corny. This one came off like this is a real psychopath.
and now you got it like everybody coming off right. You got people like Abaddon coming out, you know, that's a true horror character. Finn, even I'll give it up for Finn, you know, his demon character is very good. That's a
I
good
relate
horror
more to
character.
the Abaddon character than I do the Finn character. Even though Finn is a badass in the ring, and he can show it. I didn't believe the demon. I didn't believe it. Even
No,
though
it was still a wrestler. It was still
yeah,
a wrestler dressed as a demon.
exactly. Abaddon is mentally just jarring once you see them come out, and I like that. I like that point to where like if you look at somebody in the crowd and they look back at you and you could feel their tenseness, they're just uncomfortable looking at you. That's what I love. And Abaddon is probably the only one outside of Bray Wyatt that has made somebody feel that way.
Yeah, you know, and that's what, and I mean, that's one of the things that makes wrestling so interesting. I mean, that you can get those emotions out of the crowd. I mean, sports are a very emotional thing. You know, they get people on the edge of their seat. They get them excited. You know, you get sad when the team loses. They, you know, they cheer, they cry happily, they cry, they get whatever. But generally, wrestling is one of the only ones that get people, you know, scared.
Right.
And I remember, you know, as a kid, people, when the Undertaker first hit, people were scared. People were
Yeah.
scared in the arena. People were tense. When the lights would go out, people were nervous. When he would drag somebody away in a body bag, literally, people were uneasy. They weren't
Yeah.
happy about it. Nobody was clapping for the Undertaker at that point.
Right.
Nobody was wearing merch. People were like, "Oh God, what is this?" Um, you know, it wasn't until later that people, you know, they softened the character to become more kind of likable and kid friendly. Before it wasn't like that. People didn't look
Right.
up to it like that. Again, Hogan was a big, you know, happy guy. They pushed to Hogan. But you know, you had some other people in the horror realm. You know, you had Papa Shango a little bit in there. I think they could have done more with him. I feel like they kind of dropped the ball. Um, the character was cool, the voodooism, but it just, again, it was like a wrestler being a voodoo priest, not a voodoo priest.
You're right. Right.
You know, and now today we're starting to get back into the realm where these people are the people that, you know, we see. You know, they're monsters, they're creatures, they're characters, whatever it is. And like I said, I got to respect the work that goes into it, because it's not easy to pull that off. It's not easy to put everything aside and just, I'm dedicated just to that. You don't see any humanity while they're on screen.
Right.
Um, but you know, I did hear some very exciting news, and you must have heard it too. WrestleMania coming to Vegas.
Yeah, we heard that yesterday. We got
That's
plans.
that's got to be exciting, because I mean, with you running a show, you'll be able to have all sorts of shows out there.
Yeah, absolutely. We already in talks about working out like a 2 day type thing. We're gonna get some details locked in and see if we can work with some other companies to get involved. But yeah, I think this is gonna be really exciting for everyone.
Yeah, that's great. I'm already in talks with my wife about taking a couple of days myself and going out there. It's crazy. We got this, like, we paid for. They gave us this trip last year. It was like you could pay so much for a trip to Vegas for a week. And this year it was good for 2 years, but it happens to expire April 1st.
Oh, that's
Now,
fun.
normally WrestleMania is a little earlier. This year they're doing a little bit later. So it's like, but then it's 420. So I'm like, what better place to be than Las Vegas?
Absolutely.
You guys got the legal cannabis like mass out there, don't you?
We do. We do.
You guys got the dispensaries. You got the gambling. You can win money, go buy some smoke, lose money, go smoke. You can do either or. Plus the wrestling. I mean, there's a lot of fun to do out there. I bet WrestleMania, you know, what they have, whatever WWE has planned is probably going to be on top. But I mean, to be honest with you, the most important thing for me for WrestleMania in the last few years has been what's going on in the indie scene. You know, what's happening on those shows in the week. You know, what's GCW doing there? What's all the other shows doing? All the people. Who's going out there? Who's flying out there? What local people are going out there? I love
Right.
all that. I eat it up. Because it's a big time of year for everybody to get exposure, for everybody to get eyes and ears on them, you know? That's why I started this. It wasn't about me. It's not about me. It's about eyes and ears on the indie scene. I was going to
Yeah.
little VSW shows. They were getting, you know, 100 people in the crowd, but nobody was talking about it. Nobody was talking about it online. I was like, why? This is good wrestling. It looks good. And I started, you know, just talking about it. And then, you know, it spread and I got into other, you know, aspects of wrestling a little bit, you know, other promotions. But yeah, you know, it's to get eyes and ears on the scene. I love seeing, you know, the kids that are working their ass off, seeing it pay off.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's what it's all about. So where can people see you next? Your next show? When's that coming up?
We have next Saturday, May 11th at IZW in Arizona. I have Wrestle Drag June 8th in Arizona as well. There's some other dates that are kind of just mixed in, but like with me just getting home, my mind's not 100% on it. So next year is going to be kind of wild because that whole month of April is going to be kind of shut down for us. Game On Expo over in Arizona, we're going to be doing 3 days of wrestling there. April 5th through 7th. We're going to be doing WrestleMania weekend. We're looking at like the 17th and 18th in Las Vegas. And then the following week, the last week of April, we're back at Level Up Expo trying to make history again. So we'll see how that works out.
Amazing, amazing. And for all those that can't get to the West Coast of travel, how can they find you online?
If you go to YouTube, just search Versus Pro Wrestling. If you're looking for me directly, you can press at Beast, BEASTDIM. You can find me on socials, basically on all socials at that tag. So yeah, just hit me up. I'm here.
Great, awesome, and thank you so much. You know, I hope the video continues to take off. Hopefully, Beyond One gets to another 20 million. You know, you deserve it. It's great to see, and I hope I can get out there. I really do. I hope I can get to Vegas next year to get to one of your shows. I'm really excited for it. And I'm gonna keep following along. You know? Yeah, definitely. We'll keep in touch. Maybe I can get out a little early. I can come, you know, check out, you know, what you do out there.
Sounds good.
Have a great day, and thanks again for coming on. And I will send that. You know, I'll send Luke your name and let him know that you're interested in any sequels or anything with Kill City. I know they're always looking for cool characters.
That'll be fun. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and have yourself a great day. And thank you everybody at home for watching. And as always, support indie wrestling. Sachi Stoner out.